For 2 weeks, the world has watched missiles streak across the night sky, cities trembling, oil markets panicking, governments scrambling behind closed doors. But behind the explosions and political speeches lies a far darker question no one seems ready to answer. Is this war spiraling into something far bigger than anyone expected? Because what happened over the past 14 days has shaken the Middle East and possibly changed the global balance of power. The conflict erupted suddenly. One moment, tensions were simmering. The next, American and Israeli forces were launching coordinated strikes deep inside Iran. Explosions echoed across Tehran. Military facilities were hit, radar systems destroyed, air defenses targeted, and Washington made its intentions clear. The mission was simple: cripple Iran's military capability before it could threaten the region. But what happened next shocked military analysts around the world. Instead of backing down, Iran began responding in ways that were cheap, simple, but terrifyingly effective. Drones. Small, relatively inexpensive drones began flying across the skies of the Middle East. Some headed toward Gulf nations like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Others targeted military infrastructure. And while each drone costs only tens of thousands of dollars, the weapons needed to stop them can cost millions. Suddenly, the math of war looked very different. A single Iranian drone might cost around $35,000, but shooting it down with a Patriot missile could cost $4 million. And that's when experts began warning about something far more dangerous than missiles: a war of attrition. Iran wasn't trying to win quickly. It was trying to make the war expensive, very expensive. And that strategy has already begun to ripple across the global economy. Because the real battlefield isn't just on land, it's in the narrow waters of the Strait of Hormuz. This small stretch of ocean carries nearly a fifth of the world's oil supply. Every tanker passing through it fuels economies across Europe, Asia, and America. Now, Iran has begun threatening that shipping route. Even the possibility of disruption sent shockwaves through global markets. Oil prices surged toward $100 per barrel. Gasoline prices began rising worldwide. And behind the scenes, governments started making decisions that stunned their allies. In a dramatic policy shift, the United States quietly loosened restrictions on Russian oil. Yes, Russian oil. A move designed to stabilize global energy supply during the crisis. But what investigators discovered next raised even more questions. This decision could pump billions of dollars back into Russia's economy at the very moment the West had been trying to weaken it. Ukraine immediately raised alarm. European leaders voiced frustration, but Washington faced a brutal reality. Without additional oil supply, the global economy could spiral into chaos. And that's when the war took an even darker turn. Because while diplomats debated economics, the fighting intensified. Israel expanded its bombing campaign into Lebanon, targeting Hezbollah positions. Entire neighborhoods emptied as hundreds of thousands of civilians fled their homes. Airstrikes lit up the night sky. Buildings collapsed. Casualty numbers continued to rise. But Hezbollah and Iran weren't staying silent. Missiles and drones continued to strike back. Even Israel's highly advanced air defense systems were pushed to their limits. Most incoming missiles were intercepted, but the psychological toll on civilians has been immense. Families now wake in the middle of the night to sirens. Children are rushed into bomb shelters. For many Israelis, the war has become part of daily life. But what happened in Iraq added another layer of tragedy. A U.S. military refueling aircraft crashed during operations in western Iraq. 6 American servicemen were killed instantly. Investigators believe the aircraft may have collided mid-air during a complex refueling maneuver. It brought the total number of American deaths in the conflict to 13. And the attacks are spreading. Drone strikes have targeted international bases across Iraq. Coalition forces from France, Italy, the United States, and the United Kingdom have all come under threat.
Italy has already announced it will withdraw troops from the country. But perhaps the most disturbing mystery of the war is unfolding inside Iran itself. The country's supreme leader has not appeared in public. He issued a written statement, but no speech, no video, no proof of his condition. And that silence has triggered a wave of speculation across the country. Some believe he may have been wounded during strikes. Others think the government is hiding something even more serious. What investigators discovered was even more disturbing. Many Iranians now believe the real power may be shifting toward the Revolutionary Guard. In other words, even if leadership changes, the system itself may remain untouched, and that realization has shattered hopes that the war might quickly lead to political change inside Iran. Meanwhile, ordinary Iranians are caught in the middle. Night after night, explosions echo across the country. Military bases burn. Infrastructure collapses. Yet the government continues to project defiance. And across the Middle East, the consequences are spreading. Dubai, one of the world's financial capitals, was briefly shaken when debris from an intercepted drone struck a skyscraper. The damage was minor, but the message was clear. No city in the region is completely safe, and the ripple effects don't stop there. International events are already collapsing under the pressure of war. The Formula One Grand Prix scheduled in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia is expected to be canceled. Tourism is falling. Airspace closures are spreading, and the economic impact is beginning to reach far beyond the Middle East. But perhaps the biggest question remains unanswered. What is the end game? The United States says it has already destroyed most of Iran's navy, air force, and missile systems. Iran says it is far from defeated. Israel says the ultimate goal is regime change, but 2 weeks into the war, there is no sign of that happening. Instead, Iran appears far more resilient than many expected. Its strategy is simple: endure the strikes, stretch the conflict, make it costly, and wait for international pressure to grow. Because history has shown that wars in the Middle East rarely stay contained, they spread. And that is exactly what analysts fear now. If attacks continue on Gulf nations, if oil shipping routes are disrupted, if regional militias escalate their operations, then the world could be facing something far bigger than a regional conflict, a global crisis. Because what happens in the next 2 weeks may decide the future of the Middle East, the future of global energy markets, and possibly the future of international security itself. For now, the bombs continue to fall, the drones continue to fly, and the world is holding its breath, wondering how far this war will go, and whether anyone can still stop it.